Spoiler alert, your all-in budget may not be all in. So let's break down the sneaky expenses before you sign on the dotted line. What's up, everyone? I'm Chris Nelson, the team lead of the Nelson Home Group, helping buyers and sellers achieve their real estate goals here in the greater Philadelphia area. Now, today, we are talking about some of the hidden fees or some of the fees that you may not think about when it comes to home ownership. Now, some of these fees may actually apply before you take possession of the keys, and the other fees are fees to consider or to just keep in mind as you move through home ownership. Now, if you've been here before, welcome back. And if it's your first time, welcome. But regardless if it's your first or not, do me a favor and go ahead and hit that red button and mash that bell while you're at it so that you are notified of my future content. So as I mentioned earlier, today we are talking about some of the hidden fees or fees that you just may not think about when it comes to owning or buying a home. Majority of the time, we're thinking about closing costs and our mortgage payment, but there are things that you should be aware of aside from that, starting with a broker service fee. Now, when I started in this industry over 20 years ago, I don't remember there being a broker service fee, but probably about 10 or 15 years ago, I noticed that this fee became more and more common, but now this fee is included in almost every real estate transaction. Now, this fee ranges anywhere from $200 to $500, but it could be less and it could be more because there really isn't a standard. Very much like commission, this is something that's negotiable and usually set at the brokerage level. Now, depending who you ask, you will probably get a different response on exactly what this fee is. And I'm just going to be transparent and let you know that a lot of times this broker service fee is designed to help the brokerage offset some of their expenses. When you buy a home or you sell a home, usually the elephant in the room is the commission. But most big brokerages also have other people in the office that are support staff. And the commission doesn't always trickle down to the support staff. Usually the owner or the broker owner of the office or office manager usually will take on those fees and make sure that the staff is paid. But as margins got thinner over time, brokerages, they try to find a way to generate additional money. And that's where this broker service fee came into play. If you are working with a realtor, I would encourage for you to ask them if they have a broker service fee. And if they do, ask them exactly what that fee does or what it takes care of. And go one step further and ask them if that fee is either negotiable or can be removed. I think you'll find in most cases that the fee will either be reduced or just come completely off. So make sure you're asking about the broker service fee. Now, the next expense that comes along with buying a home before you take ownership are the inspections. Now, if you've seen my videos, you know that I am big on having a home inspection. As a matter of fact, I have taken pride in making sure that my clients have had a home inspection when they purchased a home, even when buyers were waiving home inspections left and right. But when you buy a home, you're generally going to have a home inspection, and home inspection fees vary. They're going to vary depending on the inspector. They're going to vary depending on the size or the type of the home, or maybe even the location of the home. But on average, I would think you would pay between $350 and $500 for the actual home inspection. But when you're buying a home, there are other inspections that you may want to consider, and there's a laundry list of them. But some of the other things that you can consider inspecting, which would be an additional fee, would be things like radon, water, well, septic, or even inspecting for rodents or insect that could create or cause damage to the property. And each one of those additional inspections will have, it's going to have a fee. They're going to charge you for it. I've seen some buyers tack on all the inspections that they possibly could, which I encourage for them to do. And that bill is probably somewhere around $1,000 or more. If you're buying a home that has a pool, usually the home inspection does not include inspecting the pool and the mechanics. So these are some things that you should be aware of because, again, they're not usually fees that you are thinking about when you're buying a home. So again, a home inspection is about $350, but if you have the opportunity to add on additional inspections, do so. So now that you're under contract and you've gotten through the home inspection, you're probably going to be communicating with a title company. Now, if you're not familiar with what title insurance is basically what protects you, the homeowner, from any previous clouds on title, right? If a previous mortgage wasn't paid off or a contractor wasn't paid for an improvement, title insurance is what protects you from someone knocking on your door saying that you either don't own the home, don't own it outright, or you owe them for improvements that were never paid. And when you have title insurance, which is required in the state of Pennsylvania if you are buying a home that is going to have a mortgage, and even if you're buying cash, I don't understand why you would not want to have title insurance. Again, it is put in place to protect you, but there are going to be some additional fees that the title company will charge. Now, a title company will notarize documents, and they're going to charge you for that. They're also going to charge you for the title insurance itself. Now, what I like about the state of Pennsylvania is that the state actually regulates title insurance and what the cost for each policy would be. It's usually bracketed by the sale price of the home. So depending the price will depend the insurance policy rate. And again, that is standardized, so you can shop it around or you can pick which title company you want to use, but generally they should all be issuing the same title policy premium. So my tip to you would be to talk to the title company and find out what their fees are and if any of those fees are negotiable. Now, growing up, I was always told that in life, two things are certain: death and taxes. Now, when you own a home, you will pay property tax. And if you have a mortgage, those taxes are generally escrowed into your mortgage payment. But what happens is over time, those taxes will fluctuate. And usually they go in one direction, which is up. I have seen them come down, but that's usually done with a little bit of finesse on the homeowner's part. But taxes will go up. Generally, when you own a home, the taxes that you are going to pay are going to be your county tax, your local municipality tax, and your school tax. The school tax is the highest or the most expensive of all the taxes throughout. But every year, the tax authority reserves a right to reassess your property taxes. Not to say that your taxes are going to increase every year, but they could. For the most part, they don't. But when the taxes are being reassessed, you do reserve the right to have those taxes appealed. There's a system and a process that comes along with that, but your taxes theoretically will go up over time. And when you have a mortgage, your mortgage company will set up something that's referred to as an escrow account. When you send in your monthly mortgage payment, a portion of that, which you can see on your breakdown, is referred to as an escrow payment. That portion goes into your escrow account every month, and at the end of the year, your mortgage company takes that money to pay your property taxes. But when your property taxes go up, that escrow account may actually end up being short. So your mortgage company will reach out to you and give you two options. They will say to you, you can either pay a lump sum to bring that account where it needs to be, and your mortgage payment will remain the same, or your mortgage payment will go up for the duration of 1 year to offset the amount that's needed to go into that escrow account. It's up to you to pick and choose which one you think makes the most sense for you, but that's usually how that is handled. Now, what I would encourage for you to do regarding your taxes is check to see if there's any exemptions that you can apply for. If you're a new homeowner or if you haven't applied for the homestead exemption, that's one that comes to mind that I would suggest you look in to see if it helps you reduce your tax liability. Now, if you're buying a home that is in a planned community or HOA, as people refer to them as, you're going to have to pay monthly, quarterly. It depends. Every HOA has their own cadence on when they collect dues. But those dues will also fluctuate over time. And as you see, there's a common theme here. When they fluctuate, they usually fluctuate up, not down. But you're going to want to take a look at exactly what the Homeowners Association offers. A lot of times they are going to pay for things that you won't have to pay for in the long run. Sometimes they will take care of common area maintenance. They may also take care of your lawn maintenance, snow removal, trash removal. If there's a clubhouse or a pool, they will also take care of those as well. Now, you have to ask yourself whether or not paying the association dues on a monthly basis is worth it for you based on the things that they're paying for. If you like to cut your grass and the HOA is going to do it within the expense or whatever monthly dues you're paying, you no longer reserve the right to cut your grass. Not only that, you aren't going to get to pick and choose who cuts your grass or what type of flowers are in your flower bed at times. Again, every HOA is different, but you're going to want to take a look at what the HOA provides and how much they're charging. And you can actually compare that against whether or not you lived outside of the HOA and you were to take on all of those expenses yourself. Or if you're looking at two different HOAs, definitely do a side by side and take a look at what one HOA offers and what they charge versus the other. Because again, these fees are not negotiable. They are not included in your mortgage payment. So you will need to become disciplined to set aside that money on a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis, depending on when they collect. Now, if you haven't heard of the 1% rule when it comes to home ownership, the 1% rule ties into property maintenance and repairs. That's right. When you own a home, you are going to be responsible for the maintenance and the repairs. And hopefully you're taking care of them before they just pile up and your house becomes a dump. Anyway, the 1% rule states that whatever the value of your home is, let's just say your home is worth $500,000, 1% would be $5,000. You should save 1% of your home's value every year towards home maintenance and repairs. Now, if you own an older home, that number is actually closer to 2 or 3% because older homes a lot of times either have materials that might require a specialist, right? A lot of masonry homes, or maybe specialty materials for older roofs and things along those lines. But you're going to want to put aside or save 1% of your home's value towards your maintenance. Here in Pennsylvania, where we experience all 4 seasons, I definitely think saving 1% is reasonable. It may even be a little bit on the light end because, again, here we use everything from our heaters to our air conditioning units to opening and closing the windows depending on the time of the year. We also go from extreme heat to extreme cold, meaning our houses and the material our houses are made of expand and contract, which again is additional wear and tear on our homes. But if you live in an area where it's always warm and you don't turn the heater on, but either way, 1% is a really good tone to set if you're wondering how much renovations or repairs may cost you. And as we make our way to the tail end of the list, people tend to forget that utilities, just like everything else that we pay for, our utilities will also go up over time. If you feel the pain at the pump when you're putting gas in your car, you're going to feel the pain at the meter as you're paying for natural gas to supply your heat. Or you're going to pay more for the electric that comes through to actually run your house throughout the year. Again, utilities are going to fluctuate. When I list a home or I'm working with a buyer, I always like to have the seller provide a list of their utility expenses. And that list is just to set a tone on what you might expect. But keep in mind, the way that you live versus the way I live generally would be different. I may like my home a lot warmer or colder than you. I may decide to open my windows as opposed to turn on my air conditioning. Or maybe we are home more often and use utilities more often and the other family is not. Maybe they travel a lot or they're at home. But again, the list is designed to give you an idea of what you might expect. What I would encourage for you to do is take advantage of your utility provider's grants. Here in Pennsylvania, we have a grant which is referred to as LIHEAP. What I don't like about it is if you unpack the acronym, it stands for Low Income Heating Electric. Long story short, the very first 2 words, low income, will discourage some people from applying for the grant simply because of the name. I don't care how much money you make. If you're able to save money and you meet the criteria, it's definitely worth applying for. Another thing that I would consider doing is winterizing or weatherizing, I should say, your home. Check your home for areas where there may be drafts. Maybe it's around the windows or around some of the older doors. Make sure that your insulation is appropriate, because doing these things will help offset a high electric bill or gas bill or any of those bills. But make sure that you are doing your best to weatherize your home, and make sure you're doing your best if you have oil, things along those lines, that you're doing everything you can to have your heater cleaned and working accordingly, because the harder that unit needs to work, the more oil you're just wasting. So the very last thing, which is probably the one that scares me the most, is homeowners insurance. And the reason homeowners insurance actually scares me is because if you pay attention to what's going on across the country, people are actually losing their homeowners insurance. Homeowners insurance is becoming extremely expensive, and in some markets like California and Florida, they are actually no longer insuring some homes. Here in Pennsylvania, I have seen some people actually have flood damage to their homes, and they're not in flood zones, which can be a nightmare in itself. But homeowners insurance is definitely something to keep your eye on. I will always tell people that you want to have a really good idea of the value of your personal property, because quite often an insurance company will overinsure you for personal property, meaning you're paying for coverage that you don't need. Not only do you pay for coverage that you don't need a lot of times for personal property, but some people don't even have their dwelling properly insured. I've seen people have their dwelling overinsured, and I've seen people have their dwelling underinsured. Keep in mind that homeowners insurance doesn't only protect the property, the bricks and the sticks, but it also protects or covers your personal property, so all of your clothes, all of your furnishings, and so forth. It could also take care of some of your living expenses. If your home was ever deemed to be unfit for habitation due to a fire or some other act of God, well, if you had to rent a home or an apartment, your homeowner's insurance also should cover you for that as well. But at the end of the day, your homeowner's insurance is probably going to go up year after year, especially if you're not keeping a pulse on it, because your insurance company will just send you a bill or send your mortgage company a bill letting them know that they are raising the premium. So every year, you should be shopping your insurance around and also reevaluating your policy, making sure that you have the right coverage. So there you have it. There's a list of some of the expenses that you're either going to encounter before you own a home or during owning a home that you may not be thinking about right out of the gate. Hopefully you found a little bit of value in this video and maybe even took some notes so that you can save some money. Once again, I am Chris Nelson, the team lead of the Nelson Home Group, helping buyers and sellers achieve their real estate goals here in the Philadelphia area. And if you haven't already done so, there is a free download for you. All you have to do is go down to the description, check for the link, fill out a little bit of information, and that guide is yours, my friend. And with all that said, until next time, take care.